Just go out today.
It's
just gonna be a
It's 5:30. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Our first item is our pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Vice Chair, could you read our mission statement?
The mission of the Marshall Public School District is to educate, support, and prepare all learners for success.
Thank you. Need approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any additions? Hearing none, we'll vote, please. It is approved. Public forum, now's the time the public could approach the board for any comments. Moving on to our presentation, Southwest Central Co-op, Southwest State University MPS Partnership. That's a lot to say for a very good partnership.
So I want to welcome Kim Bars and Cliff Carmody here today. Last week, at our last meeting, we got to go through a little tour of the SS building at the college and look at that a little bit. And these guys are going to kind of give us an update and talk about where we're at in this process, what project we're looking at.
Thanks, Jeremy. Just a couple of comments. I just wanted to reiterate again how pleased we are with the relationship we have with Marshall Public Schools as a membership-driven organization, and you being key to the work that we do. We appreciate your partnership and collaboration in this. I was telling Kim, we've been at this since 2016, and sometimes it feels like you're pushing a rope uphill because we've worked really hard and we've made some progress, but we still have a couple of things that we need to get done, and this is one of them. And so Kim is going to talk about some of the details, and then we'll stand for any questions if you have them. So thank you.
Yes, good evening. So last time we were here, we visited on where we were at in regards to that we had identified between the two groups that the social science building at SMSU would be an appropriate facility for the use. And at that time too, we were looking at working our way through to be on the bonding bill for a portion of the leasehold improvements. As we all know that the legislative session did not come to fruition. So we met after that, once we had determined that it didn't look like there was going to be a special session, and talked about how could we pivot. How could we, is that facility the facility that really still continues to check all the boxes that we had. And so we looked at how could we pivot on it, how could we look at a way to repurpose it still to meet the needs and be able to stay within a prescribed budget. So we talked about that and felt that there was a way for us to do that. And so one of the things that we did was that we met with SMSU with Deb there and talked about a lease because that would be one of the components that we would have. And could we work through something there that would get us on a timeline? So we've met with them. They're in the process of drafting a lease for a review, and with a goal where that draft could be then presented to the Board of Regents in October. So we're waiting for that information in order for us to be able to go through that. And then from there is that we took a look at what kind of leasehold improvement would we be having to identify, and how would we actually finance those. And so we had previously we had worked with the city about a process that they would have that we could probably qualify for. So one of the things that we've done over the last 30, 45 days is that we have met with 3 financial institutions here in the Marshall area, just to talk about the project and get an idea of what maybe what I would call preliminary terms would be, like a term sheet, just to see if we could have this project be financed and what that might look like, given, you know, today's climate with where interest rates are and what's taking place there. So we've got some information back from those groups. And so myself, Dion, and Randy will be, you know, looking at through that, evaluating some of that information. And then from there, what we'll do is that we'll probably do a pre-design, I'm gonna call it. And we will spend some time with both groups, with their key personnel, and look at how we can take that existing space and how we can meet the needs for both groups with a redefined budget. So that's kind of our next step. Any questions?
I'll just throw out there that as we talked about financing that and looking at the loan, the financing for that would happen through the lease levy that we currently use to pay for the Maytech site. So we're not looking at an additional cost or something like that. It'd be switching the payments we're making now using the same revenue source to pay for this as well. And that's part of when Kim talks about pivoting and figuring out how to make it work, looking at what we're currently spending. So without the additional bonding money, how could we afford to move into this site and make it work for us without it being an increased cost to the district?
Question, Cliff, politically, would the bonding bill be reconsidered at this coming session or not?
That's a great question. And if I knew exactly what the answer was, I probably would be standing somewhere else. But I don't think so. And here's
Okay.
why. You've got a November election that is critical. Everyone is up for reelection.
Yep.
There's going to be a strong hope, I think, and push for the Republican Party to be the majority in all three houses, if you will, the governor's office and the Senate and the House. And the Democrats will have the same push. And so once we get to this legislative session, most of what will be talked about will be incumbent upon that structure. And it's not a bonding year.
I know that.
It would be a financial, and they're going to talk a lot about how to spend the $7 or so billion of extra money they have today and what that's going to look like. And I would be surprised if there was
Reconsidered?
a reconsideration of that. So that doesn't mean that there's not plans for how we may be able to look at asking for a grant from the state. That's a possibility. We've had really good luck with Senator Dames in particular. He's been very supportive of the project, and I could see him, assuming he's reelected, which I think most political folks would think that's likely. I think Senator Dames would help us in that. But again, that's all just preliminary discussion at this point.
So he would be willing to write a bill in our behalf?
He may, yeah, he may. We'd certainly, I think having Senator Dames, he's been, he helped us with the bonding bill side. He helped us get into that, and Jeremy and I were able to attend, some meetings in doing that. So Senator Dames understands what it is that we're trying to do, and so he's been very supportive. And that would be certainly one strategy that we would have as we look forward to that legislative session. I think the key here for us has been, every day we wait, things get more expensive. Yeah. And so we didn't want to, because there was no bonding bill in the last session, I call it the unsession, and we didn't get anything done, then if we put this whole thing on hold, it just takes that much longer. So Kim has worked hard, and I think it's a really good strategy to say, okay, without those bonding dollars, what can we afford, and how does this look? And we think we can get started. And you've been fortunate enough to be through that facility. You can see there's potential there. I think
Oh, man.
there's a lot of
What's a sense of support from the Board of Regents?
Well, I don't know for sure. What I do know is
We need their endorsement, correct?
Roger Moe, who I've worked with for better than 15 years, is a regent, and so I think we have at least one advocate. I would think, if it gets to that level, I'd be surprised that the regents would talk I think they would support it. I mean, if it gets to their level, their board level, I would think they would support it. It's, we talk about it being the perfect story. SMSU has a strong need to do something with that facility so they can do other things with their facilities, as we understand it. I don't want to speak for them, but so they're either gonna have to tear it down, which is gonna cost, we figure, $4-5 million as we looked at that. And this is a way to preserve a building that has a useful life, it's in good shape, and by doing some investing, we think we can make it meet our purposes. And the taxpayers should understand that. They paid money to build it, why would you pay money to tear it down? We're gonna look at trying to find ways to repurpose it. And often I say, if you go to the Cosmos site, it was the best $5 million the state has ever spent. This would be like another, this just makes, it makes no sense to me why they wouldn't support it. That's not our decision. We'll have to go and pitch our story there and let them know. But I think, like I said, we have at least one advocate on the Board of Regents, and Senator Moe he knows what we're doing. We've talked to him enough, so I think.
He's well respected as well.
Just a point of clarification too, Minnesota State Board of Trustees, we don't want to confuse them with the U of M Board of Regents, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Regents is
Yeah. We got a better chance with the Board of Trustees than we do with the Regents.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How many year lease are we looking at if we do lease it? Are you looking at like a 10-year lease?
Yeah,
or-
we probably, so part of it would be is that when we look at the financing side of it, we're probably looking at about a 15 to begin with 4 or 5 year options to renew. So that if we're, we've done all that improvement, we want to make sure that we've got a longer life with that, so.
So another point of clarification too. So when we talk about $5 million project, we're talking $5 million combined for the building, not just the Marshall Public part of it. And how that splits is still to be determined. We have, when Kim talks about that pre-planning, we have not pre-designed this part of the building yet. We feel it won't need a lot of work for it to work for us as the Maytech site. It's gonna need some things, so portion of that $5 million would be to remodel for what we need, and the rest would be for what the service co-op needs for, probably be looking at, we would take one floor of the building, they would take a floor of the building, and then we'd have some common shared area in the rec space, lunchroom space, green space, that sort of thing.
Probably adult basic ed would move out there too?
Adult basic ed is in that building right now, so that'd be a conversation we have to have is, where is their long-term home? And is there room to include them in this project?
It's a beautiful facility, and location with our high school age kids with Maytech right across the street from the high school. Perfect fit.
No, the story is right. We keep pitching it, and we just kind of keep lining up all of the pieces, and Kim does a nice job of doing that along with Dion and Randy from my office, and so we let them do their work, and we'll just, Jeremy and I'll just keep telling the story because it makes good sense.
What's your sense, Kim? What's your sense? And
I feel good about it. I mean, I think really my approach is that I'm always one for, I don't want a slow no. So if it's going to be a no, I want to find that now so that we have to move on. I mean, we had to pivot. We got the bonding. Okay, so now we're pivoting. And so now we're trying to align everything, from the city, financial institutions, and with SMSU.
How many months are we looking at before we'll have some of those numbers?
So, I would say that, in the next 30 days or so, we're really close on, seeing the draft of the lease. We have a good idea where we're at with that already. We just need to be able to see it in writing.
Sure.
And then, we know we have $5 million to work with. We have information from the financial institutions, so we can break that down and take the combination of the two and come up with what it would cost on a per square foot basis. And so we've shared a little bit at a high level. And so that's why how we're setting to make sure that we can stay within budget.
well, and what you shared earlier, Jeremy, is extremely important, that when we move Maytech into there, it's no additional cost, where it'd be apples and apples,
That's what we're hoping, yeah.
close.
Yep.
That's good news for our taxpayers.
Other questions?
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, guys.
Have a good evening.
Thanks for being persistent. Appreciate it.
Moving on to our consent agenda, a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second,
Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote. It is approved. Financials, move to accept financials. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
It's open for discussion.
So took the advice during our strategic planning. It was brought up that have some advance information sent to the treasurer, who's Bill Moso. And so I had sent the bills to Bill, thanks, yeah. On Thursday with some notes, same notes that I'll share with the board now, but just to give him an advance look at it, so if he had any questions, we could discuss those. It was open for him to give me a call, but just a couple of things in the bills. There was a bill out there for $6,000 to Brand Advantage. I just wanted to put, that's for some of our device cases, our one-to-one device cases. The name of the vendor is a little deceiving there. Hiller Commercial flooring, that $150,000 was part of the LTFM middle school carpet project. Alpha Graphics was a little over $8,000. Those were graphics that were in the construction budget. We just waited to get those put up to make sure that the paint and everything was okay for those graphics to go up, and they are up now. Marshall Machine Shop, we had to purchase a new snowplow blade to go on the new pickup once we receive that, or once we get that pickup. And then food service was a little lower. We hadn't gotten the July bill yet from Taher. We've gotten that now. And the same thing with the Southwest Coaches bill. Transportation shows zero. We'd just gotten the June and July bill from them. So that'll be on the next board meeting.
Any questions? Call for a vote. It is approved. Anything on the treasurer's report?
No, just every year we talk about it. July is a little deceiving because we have, don't have as many bills going through. Our teachers' payroll is paid off in June, and then their next payroll will be August 31st. So, but it looks good.
Board forum, board members? Any updates? Moving on to our administrator's report.
All right. So I will start with my report. Looking forward to back-to-school workshops. They're starting on Tuesday, the 23rd. We've got new teachers coming in that day. Slate of orientation materials prepared to welcome them and get them off on the right foot that week. That's always a fun week getting that. We have 28 new teachers coming next week for that. So we had a lot of change this year. The following week, we have our full fall staff workshop week. That's going to include some work time in classrooms, site-level meetings, district meetings, and a keynote presentation for the staff. I do invite the board to join us for the welcome that morning. We'll have breakfast at the high school with the full staff, and then we'll have our keynotes that morning. As part of that, I'll be rolling out the new strategic plan to the staff in my address that morning. Our theme this year is to focus on how we can share our why and connect with our students and families. We'll also be rolling out, as I mentioned, the strategic plan, and workshop week wraps up on Thursday, the 25th. I also want to just mention the storm damage. On August 2nd, we had the storm that took the building, the back shed at the CTI property. That building has been a complete loss, but Theon has done a really nice job working with our insurance company and getting local contractors out to help clean that up. And now it's get on the list to build that. So that was not originally part of the scope of that project. People drive by and see that building's gone. That was because of storm damage, and it will be replaced through our insurance company.
Is any of the stuff we had stored there damaged, or?
We've moved everything into the main building so we can kind of go through it and determine. There are some things that were damaged that will be covered under our coverage as well, and some things that will be still usable. So we just have to sort through it all. Early childhood is the next report. Early childhood screening will start on August 22nd. They have a full day scheduled to kind of kick off the fall this year. Additional screening stations and appointments will be set up as part of that for this fall. Summer programming at early childhood was a big success this summer. We had a lot of students and families participate. Every class ran and attendance was great. Providing summer programming was a transition this year that was part of our ESSER funding, and we were able to offer parent education as well as some student classes preparing for back to school with some of our youngest learners. So that was a good program this year, and it was very well received. She has some fun pictures included in her report as well. Parkside hosted summer school at Parkside this summer, so it was a pretty busy location. End of July, we wrapped that all up, so Darcy reports we're now full speed ahead, getting things cleaned up and ready for fall. Staff have been in getting rooms prepared, and custodial staff have been putting final touches on before the new year starts. Darcy also shares in her report the site leadership team and peer coaches. They'll be meeting in the next couple of weeks to make plans for school year around the school continuous improvement plan. Those plans have been updated this year to reflect changes with the new strategic plan. I'm also looking forward to working at Parkside this year, taking a deeper dive into the science of reading and implementing some new instructional routines and assessments to help teaching and learning at that location for kindergartners and first graders. Southview, Pete shared, and I think Deanne had in his report too, the new dinosaur mural that was put up in the main stairway. If you haven't been over that location, that's a pretty cool mural. The kids are going to have fun seeing that when they come back this fall. He also shares some big projects this year, included replacement of the cafeteria flooring. I think Deanne shared that at his last meeting too. That was part of the construction project that had to be reworked. So Pete calls out a big thank you to Deanne for his work in getting all of that done this summer. Things that in that new building, kind of wrapping up some of those final projects. During New Teacher Week at Southview, they'll be adding doing some additional trainings for reading teachers and for math teachers as we rolling out our why theme at that location. Middle school, Paula shares that open house is scheduled for Tuesday, September 6th, and that's going to be during the day. They're running a little bit different model this year at that location, but looking forward to that. She also shares a highlight on the new schedule. The pathways courses that we're bringing in this fall, those rooms are really starting to come together. Teachers have been in, and we've been getting final touches on those rooms with the FACS program, the Ag classroom, and the PAYS lab was set up late last week. So that's the careers hands-on lab that 8th graders will be going through. That is set up and about ready to go too. The new schedule at the middle school has blocks that are 68 minutes long, so a little bit longer than before. And she also added a guided learning time into the blocks where math and reading interventions support with work completion, and some reteaching skills will happen during that time as part of the new schedule at the middle school. High school, Brian shares this week that the first day of school is Tuesday the 6th. On that day, the 9th grade students are going to attend an orientation led by Link Crew. So this is similar to what they've done in the past, where 9th graders are the whole day and run through a nice orientation program. And then the upperclassmen, the juniors and seniors, kind of join later in the day, and they'll run through mini sessions of each block at the end of the day, so that when they come on the 7th, the students have had that orientation time prior to full blocks through the full day. Maytech, Amanda shares, been busy getting prepared for the 22-23 school year, hosting annual registration and picture day on Tuesday, September 6th. She also shares that the high school level summer school program wrapped up on July 1st. That was held at the high school this summer. Great turnout with a very successful summer with students earning credits. We had 95 students enrolled in the summer school session this year, so really good turnout for that session. She also shares that fall planning for after hours, the high school credit recovery program, is now in full swing, so hiring staff and looking at students that are in need of that program. Looking at making a scheduling change with that this year, where there won't be class on Wednesdays to support with the PLC time for teachers. It's been inconsistent in the past with staffing for that, so restructuring how they run the whole week to allow that night there wouldn't be class. Activities, Mitch has been busy coming in and a lot of things taking off in his first few weeks on the job, but he's been doing a nice job as well. He shares that fall activities are started. Today was actually the first day for all fall sports, and marching band recently had their camp, so that was a busy couple weeks, always a fun couple weeks to go by the high school and see marching band getting going out there. He also shares that gymnastics program is getting really excited about the new location in the multipurpose room at this building. That will be ready soon for them to move over. And then finally, he shares that the online ticketing is a project that he is working on with hometown ticketing. So we'll be offering a new, improved way of doing the virtual tickets for this fall. We had rolled something out last year, it just didn't work as well. So we're going with a new company, a new way of running that we're pretty excited about. So we're doing some final details on that, but the plan is to implement fully by the start of fall activities. Teaching and learning, Beth shares the welcoming 28 new licensed staff members. They're not all newly licensed, but they're new to us. During new workshop week, starting on the 23rd through the 25th, new staff will partake in numerous activities and trainings to help prepare for the school year. We have also been working through the summer to ensure we're ready to kick off the inaugural year of the CEO program. So we've got students enrolled in that, and they will start with the start of school year as well. Program starts on the first day of school. Beth also shares, I think it's in her report, there's a link to their website. They have a really nice website that shows updates on who's on their board and where the students are at and kind of what the students are working on. So that will be updated throughout the year for people that are interested in seeing kind of what's going on with that program and where are students attending. So currently, Shonda is working on scheduling the locations for the class, because that class will not meet in a school building at all. They'll be completely held in local businesses.
I went on that site, and there are 47 businesses involved in this.
Isn't that
It's
awesome?
amazing.
Yeah, our community turnout of sponsorships for that program has been huge.
Yeah.
And that's between us and Murray County, because it's Slayton.
There's
School's
a
part of it too,
lot
but-
of Slayton businesses too.
Yeah,
so.
a lot of community support for that. Finally, Beth shares the literacy task force has been meeting this summer, continuing to refine the MTSS process, specifically around the literacy assessment cycle to ensure consistency in skills that are taught to mastery. As that team is really helping guide decisions and make recommendations back to administration with that. But they're looking at that team as part of that process has been completing the letters training, which is endorsed by the Department of Education and actually offered and paid for by the Department of Education. She shares they're very appreciative of the staff that have started the letters journey. It will really help strengthen our district's literacy instruction. They're learning a lot and really bringing a lot back to classrooms through that training. So they'll be completing that this year. Special ed, Jackie had some interesting information she shared this month in her report. First, she talks about evaluations. So we have two different types of evaluations that our special ed team conducts. So these evaluations are conducted by our SEAT team, which we implemented a number of years ago. So there's a group of, I think it's 4 people, where their job is to conduct evaluations for the district. Initial evaluations are when there's an educational concern that a student who is not yet on an IEP or an individualized education plan, and concerns have been brought forward, so this team would conduct that evaluation. During the 21-22 school year, we conducted 54 initial evaluations in Marshall Public Schools, and that could be anywhere from early childhood or preschool through the high school. Of those 54 initials, 45 students were determined to be eligible for services, so about 83% of the referrals ended up with student qualifying for an IEP. We also have re-evaluations. So any student on an IEP is re-evaluated every 3 years, a minimum of every 3 years. This past year, that team conducted 114 re-evaluations, and 109 of those students continued to be eligible, which is about 96% of the re-evaluations just through that annual process were determined to continuing to be eligible for special ed services. Over the course of last year, there were 23 more students eligible for special ed than in the previous year with kindergarten through age 21. So increase of 23 students that has resulted in some of those additional staffing things we brought forward to the board. I think it was the last meeting, you approved a additional early childhood special ed teacher that was related directly to these number of evaluations that have been coming through and number of students qualifying for services. Coordinator of Special Projects, Mary Kay shares district testing calendar is complete. So we're required by MDE to post our testing calendars on the website prior to the start of the school year. So she has that done. Every public school in the state has to have those out. Each building also has to identify, record, and post onto their school website. So those individual site calendars are complete as well. She also shares that students who entered the second session of summer school they were prepared to learn more about the environment. So they did themes this year in the summer school. The second session, they had a lot of fun focusing on environment. During the first week, students boarded our very own Magic School Bus. For those of you some of you might remember that show. They ventured a few miles to the Lyon County landfill and did a field trip as part of that. They could watch garbage trucks dumping trash, compactor smashing the trash, and a hauler moving the liquid runoff. The kids had a lot of fun visiting that location and seeing some of those things that we take for granted or just kind of there. So it was a good lesson for the kids. They were also given, the kids were all given reusable water bottles and stainless steel straws to help reduce the amount of trash they contribute to the landfill. So she writes, staff and students were mesmerized by that process. So it was a fun thing to take the kids out there and probably a field trip we don't always think about as an opportunity for our students. Dion?
Thanks, Jeremy. Just a note on food service. Again, we have reverting back to the paid meals this fall. We have mailed, did a mass mailing in July, sending a cover letter to families talking about the paid meals and then also including the free and reduced application. Each of the school, I believe, are doing, helping to get that information out. Also, I know Southview and Parkside included it in their mailings, and middle school is going to be handing them out during their open house. We'll also be doing another mailing probably next week, and then doing a Blackboard Connect call tomorrow or Wednesday, just to make sure families know.
Is it in multiple languages too?
Yep, our PSC's big help on this. Wanted to put another local vendor thank you out to Mike DeVos. He's finished the carpet project at the middle school on time, and even with the carpet coming in late, I know Mike worked a lot of weekends to get this done, so if you guys see Mike, give him an extra thank you. And then I hadn't included it on here, but D&G helped us clean up the CTI shed, and that morning Brad Gruhat was out there to talk to Warren and I and get things organized. So it just shows how our local contractors are just awesome to work with. And then just wanted to include, we had the primary election. One of the locations was our middle school multi-purpose area. Had some nice comments and feedback on how nice that looked, and that worked out very well. The middle school track is complete, painted. I've included a couple pictures on there for that. And then just wanted to give an update, it's not in my report, Southview's landscaping. I think our community, and I don't know how to get it out there more, but was a little probably frustrated, but also confused at thinking that we weren't keeping up with our site's landscaping. And a lot of it was is we had to work things out with the warranty and with the contractor. I believe we did that last week. Myself, Nick from ICS went around with Pesca, RNG, and VIP, and I think we worked out an agreement to get the grading redone. I think you might have seen that. We're going to get some sod laid in some certain areas that we agreed upon. With that, it's 2 feet away from the sidewalk around the building. So you'll see some changes there. And once that's done, we'll be responsible to water the new sod, which I think we're okay with if we can take charge of it and make sure it's done right. The other areas, weeds, or they'll be spraying for weeds on Wednesday, and then in September, they'll be putting down some dormant seed. That's part of VIP's expense or Pesca's expense, not ours. But we are taking over the maintenance of it, and I think you've kind of seen that just in the last week or last few days. Our new groundskeeper, Brad Dalma, along with his summer help, did an awesome job, almost a transformation on that site once we were given the okay to take over and start working on it. And we'll continue to do so just to make sure that the community sees that we're taking care of our building, and when staff and students show up, it looks good. So.
Thank you. Moving on to our first review of policies 301 and through 306. Any questions?
Really no changes in these.
And we'll move to our second review of policies 524. This is internet security.
Yeah, I'll share with that one. This was the one that had some changes recently due to updated state statute. In the first reading that we had out at the last board meeting, we had inadvertently put in a draft that had 3 options at the end of it, and we have updated for the second reading to the 1 option that matches our previous policy. So 3 in the proposed from MSBA, and this one reflects the 1 that we had chosen previously at the end of the policy.
Under action items, approval to the change September 19th meeting time. Need a motion to change the date.
So moved.
I'll second. Yeah, change the time, not the
time.
date.
The date, the time, I'm
Just
sorry.
the time,
I'm
yep.
sorry, just the time.
What we're proposing is changing the time. We do the school building tours each year, so this would start the tour at 4 o'clock, and then we would come back here after that tour and do our regular board meeting at 5:30.
Any other questions? Oops. Okay, let me see where we're at here. We need to vote, and it looks, vote on the motion, come on. Can't get it to come up.
There it went.
There we go. It's slower than I am.
This is the e-learning days.
We're
though.
voting on the e-learning days.
Oh,
now.
no, we don't want that one, so. So we just do a voice vote on that one? To change the date, all in favor say aye, aye.
Aye.
To change the time, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to this one here, the approval of the e-learning days for 2022-23 school year. I think we added the day, right? Is that what it was, or?
No, with the e-learning days, just every year we reapprove that, we talk about that plan, so that we will notify families of it. We have a district newsletter going out, but just want to notify the board and bring that up again. We do plan to implement e-learning days again this year as part of the inclement weather planning. State allows up to 5 because of inclement weather, and any days beyond that would need to be made up. So this is just reapproving that
Okay.
policy for this year, that procedure for this year.
And for clarity, can you motion and
So moved.
second? Okay,
I'll second.
thank you. Now we'll vote, please. Is approved. Our next action item is to write off remaining food service outstanding balance. The balance was only $516.
So there's a current balance of student accounts that's $424.95. We're asking the board to approve, just writing that off and starting the year with a zero balance. With previous years being free lunches, this year's going to be a different year going through, and it's easier to keep track of.
So that's really come down a lot to 424. It used to be in the thousands, I think, didn't it?
Yeah.
Just a little,
What's the 516?
yeah, just a little background on that. So you can see December 31st, it was at 12,000. And obviously with free lunches, we've had time to collect some of that. And we've gotten down to $516, 47 families. So they're very minor amounts. I think the highest one on there is $30 all the way down to 70 cents. In talking with Taher, because they do a lot of our work in collecting balances, and Jill does a lot of work in making sure free and reduced are getting their applications in. We just, if we have a clean slate, it's going to help us right away contact those families, A, so they know that it's a paid meal, and B, if they qualify, we can get them on the books right away.
The question, Matt, about the difference in those two amounts, there are some adult balances on there as well, and this is
Oh.
student balances.
Okay.
Yeah, that's important to point out because I want to make sure the community knows we're not writing off our employee balances. Those will stay on.
I'll make a motion, and can we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. And the question, are we gonna be set up so the people that don't have can still get a lunch? I mean,
Yep.
we're not gonna
Yep.
turn anybody away.
Correct.
Make sure we don't have any controversy on that. That's important.
Yep.
Any other comments? We'll vote. It's approved. Thank you, board members, for your patience. Meeting is adjourned. And I got out of that without